Intro. Hey there, and welcome to Poor Mana's Magic, a place where the wild cards never rain on our parade. Today, we are taking a look at a flavorful Lord of the Rings based Mirkwood themed deck. We are playing Poison, we are playing Toxic, we are playing Death Touch, and we are binding the old god, the Witch King himself. This is a Poison and Toxic deck that centers around Fynn the Fangbearer, a 1-mana, 1-green creature, legendary human warrior, with Death Touch that says whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. Now, we are playing a host of Death Touchy little creatures. We have Bilious Skull Dwellers, we have Mirkwood Spiders, we have Narnam Renegades, Pestilent Siphoners, and of course, the 9 Nazgûl themselves. We are trying to get little Death Touchers on the board, attack in quickly, take out some opposing creatures with effects like Infectious Bite and Devouring Tendrils, which will allow a target creature we control to deal damage to a target creature we don't. And because all of our creatures have Death Touch, any amount of damage they do will kill the opposing creature. Infectious Bite also plays thematically very well because each opponent also gets a poison counter. We are also playing 2 other key cards here. The first is in the 3 slot, Call of the Death Dweller, which is a sorcery spell for 2 mana and 1 black that says return up to 2 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, put a Death Touch counter on either of them and a Menace counter on either of them. Now, if we play out a 1-drop and a 2-drop, maybe we go into a 3-drop Nazgûl, our board gets wiped, we draw into a Call of the Death Dweller, all of a sudden we can replenish our board very effectively. This really makes our opponent have to have multiple answers to our deck. And if anything comes down that we don't want our opponent to have on board, we can Binding the Old Gods. Now, my absolute dream for this deck is for a Witch King of Angmar to come down, for opponent to have no cards in hand for them to protect it, and for us to Binding that old god. But we'll have to see how we do. Let's go ahead and take this into the historic play queue and poison some stuff. Okay, on the draw against Egoes. Now we have a 1-drop in Bilious Skull Dweller. We have 2 ways to play it, and we have 2 Nazgûls and a Binding. We'll go ahead and keep this. We will play our Ziggurat first, and this will mean that we won't be able to play Binding of the Old Gods on turn 2. Well, now that we have Devouring Tendrils, maybe we go ahead and play Secluded Courtyard on Insect. And we can save our Ancient Ziggurat for a potential turn 3 Nazgûl. But this lets us play Devouring Tendrils on turn 2. We'll see what comes down. Opponent playing black and green so far. They hold off. We will hang tight. Go ahead, attack in for 1, see if we can connect with our Toxic. Looks like they will go ahead and remove it with Go for the Throat. That's some pretty high-powered removal for a 1-mana spell, don't you think? Opponent plays down a Hive of the Eye Tyrant, foretells a card. We will go ahead and play our Nazgûl. Now, because we played Ancient Ziggurat, we can only cast a creature spell with this mana, so we can't play a Binding next turn. We will need 2 more mana in order to play our Bindings. Opponent going to Feed the Swarm. Very effective. We draw into another Ancient Ziggurat. Not our favorite, but not the worst. We'll go ahead and tap both of these for black. Oh, that is sorcery speed. So we'll go ahead and play another Nazgûl here. Probably going to be met with some removal. Even more removal. That is 3 removal spells in a row, and it does look like our opponent is playing an atypical deck. 107, 106 cards left. I would not be surprised if all of these were removal spells. In which case, you would have to give it up to him. So we will go ahead and double spell here with the Bilious Skull Dweller into Pestilent Siphoner. Opponent goes ahead and flunks, feeds the swarm. We draw into yet another Nazgûl. We'll see if this one sticks around. Ooh, it does stick around. We'll see if they have some sorcery speed removal. Nothing yet. Go ahead and attack. Hopefully, draw a card. We will pitch a Devouring Tendrils because it's our sorcery speed removal. We draw into another land, which isn't the worst. Ooh, Debt to the Kami. So we are very much out of creatures, and we're probably going to be killed by this Hive of the Eye Tyrant. So we have another Nazgûl off the top, a very nice draw. Looks like this is the art from maybe Hobbiton or Bree. Maybe from Bree. Now, we have had 4 Temptations on the ring, which means that whenever our Ring Bearer, which is currently a Nazgûl, deals combat damage, that opponent is going to lose 3 life. So we'll go ahead, we will play our Spider, just to get something else down. Remember, we do have instant speed removal in the form of an Infectious Bite. So if they activate their Hive Tyrant to try to block, we can get rid of it in good time. Go ahead and drop a Binding. Ooh, we get through. So opponent is going down in life total. And no targets really for the Binding, so we'll go ahead and pass the turn. Hold up our Infectious Bite. Just a land from our opponent and a Hive Tyrant. Yep. We'll go ahead and use an Infectious Bite from our Mirkwood onto the Hive Tyrant. So if they want to use their removal, they'll have to use it on our Spider. They tap their Hive Tyrant. They Village Rights their Hive Tyrant. Ooh, very nice. Opponent still gets a poison counter. It doesn't look like they have any removal. We'll go ahead and try to get our card draw in. Another Nazgûl is good. We can cast our Binding, so we'll go ahead and drop our Forest. A Hero's Downfall our Nazgûl, which they should have done prior to us attacking. We'll play down yet another Nazgûl. We will choose our Mirkwood Spider as our Ring Bearer. Opponent plays another land. They're clearly holding on to something. We have another Nazgûl, which we might as well go ahead and play so that it'll buff up our first Nazgûl. This matchup is really making me wish we had some protection spells in our deck. Ooh, a Debt to the Kami, which I think is a very poor choice. We'll go ahead and sacrifice our Mirkwood Spider here, because when the Nazgûl enters, we will be able to choose a new Ring Bearer, which will be our existing Nazgûl. Go ahead and attack. Draw a card, discard a card. We'll lose the Binding of the Old Gods. Get in for 4 damage, and then 3 additional damage. And that puts us in range of lethal. 1 card. Good game, Egoists. Looks like we built, we beat Removal Tribal. Okay, we are on the play. We have 2 Renegades. We have Call of the Death Dweller. We have Binding. Go and keep. Now I did make one small change to this deck. I added 1 Call of the Death Dweller and took away 1 Binding, so we now have 3 of each in the deck. Dragonborn Looter. Draw a card, discard a card in a Tormod's Crypt. Oop, we can now double spell. We will go ahead and attack first, see what opponent wants to do. Probably not block. Go ahead and double spell our Death Touchers. And the beautiful thing about this is if we draw into a Fang, or a Fynn the Fangbearer rather, we will suddenly be presenting 6 poison counters. You can't make it up. What a draw. So we will go ahead and play down our Secluded Courtyard. We will put this on Wraith, since that is the most prominent black spell that we have. We have to go ahead and try for our Fynn. If it lands, we're golden. If not, we'll make do. Comes down, we'll attack in. Fynn gets an extra death touch, whatever that means. We deal 3 damage and 6 poison counters. Dragonborn Looter is going to draw and discard. We are now presenting lethal this next turn. Opponent has to deal with 2 creatures. A 3rd island. Opponent thinking about their next play. It looks like they are a mill deck. Bubble Snare. They didn't pay the kicker cost. That's going to be an easy win for us against Mr. Meowgi. Good game. Okay, on the draw against Mandy Mayhem. That's a great name. We have our Mirkwood, we have our Fynn, we have our Nazgûl, we have some removal. This is a perfect hand. Turn 1 forced from Mandy into a Llanowar Elf. I see that elf and I raise them a spider. Hardened Scales, so it looks like this is going to be a counters, a +1/+1 counters deck into a Guy's Blessing. That's an interesting inclusion. So we'll go ahead, play down our Swamp into our Fynn. Next turn we have a Renegade into Infectious Bite. We'll go ahead, we'll do 1 damage, 2 poison. See what opponent wants to do about that. They play their own Nazgûl with Hardened Scales. This is a fun combo. I like this one. Obviously, Nazgûl is seeing a lot of play right now. So we'll play our Renegade. We will Infectious Bite. Boop. We will attack in. And Mandy Mayhem goes boom. GG's. Okay, on the draw against Red Outlaws, we have all the mana, we have some Nazgûl, we have a Fynn, we have a Call of the Death Dweller, which, if Fynn or Nazgûl gets removed, is a very effective follow-up. We'll go ahead and keep this. It's going to be a little slow. We don't have any removal yet, but hopefully we'll draw into something. Red Outlaws with the Nissa Avatar. Interesting choice. Changeling, Outcast on turn 1. Now, Changeling Outcast is a shapeshifter. It can't block and it can't be blocked, and this is an excellent inclusion in the Ninjas deck that's been popping up. So we'll go ahead. We did draw into a Renegade, so we'll play that out turn 1. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Both decks don't really care about interaction and really just like doing what they're going to do. It looks like it is the Ninjas deck. Changeling Outcast unblocked, so they can be ninjutsu'd. Prosperous Thief, turn 2. Pretty much the perfect rollout. So Prosperous Thief says that whenever one or more ninja or rogue creatures deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure. So we'll go ahead and play out our Fynn. We'll attack with our Renegade. Deal 2 poison. We'll see where that gets us. Now Fynn is a good blocker, but is going to get destroyed by Feed the Swarm. Now we have more Death Touchers at the ready in the form of our Nazgûl. 3 Nazgûl. I like this art better. We'll go ahead and play this guy down, see what happens, and we will hold back our Death Touchers since they currently aren't doing any poison counter giving. So Nazgûl comes down. We will choose our Renegade as our Ring Bearer. Nazgûl will get a +1/+1 counter, and we will hold off. Now Changeling Outcast. Whoa. Crippling Fear at 4 mana from opponent. Now that is a really, really solid removal spell for any tribal deck. Not something I've seen a whole lot of, but little do they know, we have a Cult the Death Dweller, which will let us get back our Renegade and our Fynn the Fangbearer. Now we will go ahead and put our Menace counter on a Renegade. And that will allow it to attack in, even if Fynn gets taken out. We have 2 Nazgûl at the ready. We have 2 excellent blockers. However, Changeling Outcast can always attack in and get ninja'd. Yep, okay. So creating treasure. Playing out more outcasts. Not the worst, honestly, from us. So we have 1 Mirkwood. We have a Nazgûl. Now, Outcast can't block, so I think I feel pretty good about attacking in here. We'll see what they want to do about that. They have removal, they have removal. But hopefully they don't have removal. Taking an awful long time to think about it. Maybe some sort of sacrifice draw effect? Into the Royal. A kicked bounce spell. Now that is a little painful for us. We will get in 1 damage, but that's not quite what we were hoping for. So Fynn doesn't have to come down this turn, it can come down next turn. We'll go ahead and play our Nazgûl. We'll assign our Ring Bearer as the Renegade. We will leave back 2 Death Touchy blockers. Next turn, we will be able to empty our hand with Fynn into another Nazgûl. Another land from opponent is a very good outcome. They get 2 treasures. They're holding up yet another. Ooh, Devouring Tendrils. So I think because of that, we'll go ahead and play our Fynn. This is a sorcery speed, unfortunately. We will go ahead and Devouring Tendrils now from our Mirkwood to the Prosperous Thief. See if they have a counter spell in hand. Ooh, that goes through. We gain a little bit of life, which is important in this matchup. We have 3 creatures swinging in. We can draw discard off our Renegade. We'll go ahead, drop the Nazgûl this turn so we can get another Renegade on the board. Get as many threats as possible. Looks like they have another removal spell. That was very, very well timed from opponent. They held on to that until the very last second. But because we did have a permanent leave the battlefield, Renegade gets a +1/+1 thanks to Revolt. And Red Outlaws is phoning it in. Why not? We had some fun. So we'll call it a day for our Lord of the Rings flavor-filled Mirkwood poison toxic deck. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. I certainly enjoyed playing. Please like, share, and subscribe if you feel so compelled. I will see you in the next one.